Hello, everybody. It's Helen Patterson from LifeWorks Well. As you know, I'm the founder of LifeWorks Well, a consultancy company focusing on creating healthy, high performance, and heart centered cultures. And today's Mentor Circle, we are celebrating National Mentoring Month. I've been posting all month, my team on lifeworkswell.ca. We are celebrating all the wonderful mentors out there, those people that have made a difference in our lives. And today I'm really excited because I have a good friend and colleague of mine, Kadine Cooper, with us today. And we're going to talk all about mentoring, coaching, sponsorship, our career journeys, how mentorship played a part in it, where we're going next, and career advice. So it's going to be a fun 30, 40 minutes with us. And I'm really excited. I just want to also acknowledge the land that I am on in Toronto. We are privileged to be on this land and sharing the beauty of it. I'm here on the historical lands of the Wendat peoples, the Haudenosaunee, the Chippewa, and other nations. So thank you. With the dish with one spoon, it's all about a circle, and I love the mentor circle idea from that. So we're going to dive right in. So welcome, Kadine. I am so excited to have you. It's just amazing how we met. And I do want to shout out Lee Mitchell, who Women in Business Network. She still has that company, but she's an amazing person, and she brings so many wonderful people and women together. And that's how we met, through Women in Business Network. So first of all, I'd love you to just introduce yourself. Let us know what you're doing, right now, and a little bit about your career journey, like what brought you to what you're doing now. And then we'll dive into some of the questions on mentorship as well.
Oh, no problem. So thank you first and foremost for having me again on Mentorship Circle. I think it's amazing what you're doing. And so for myself, Kadine Cooper, I'm someone that has about 17 plus years, maybe 18 or 19 now, years in the HR space. I was the lead and talent advisor for many corporate companies before starting my own practice as a full-time coach. Executive and leadership coaching is what I'm doing right now. I also do some facilitation and speaking. And when you say how I got here, I feel like it kind of organically happened. Well, yes and no. I wanted to do something different and make more of a difference and an impact in lives, and felt that I was being a little bit restricted by doing that in the corporate space. So went out on a limb and started my own practice, became certified, and now I coach in groups. I coach individually. I coach leaders and organizations, and I also mentor as well, one-on-one mentoring. And I'm part of the Accelerate Her Future mentorship program, which actually starts today. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so
Mhm.
fantastic. And I think that's one of the things that we had in common was our career in HR as well. And so
Right.
for those who don't know me, I started out in a legal career. I made my way into HR eventually. Then I started my company, Life Works Well, as a freelancer originally. Then I went back into corporate and wore a completely different hat, product management and compliance for a large tech company, where I used my HR and legal skills in a different way, in a different era. And then I reignited my company again. So you just never know where your journey is going to take you. I'm just so glad that we met through our journeys, and we've become friends as well, and colleagues, and can learn from each other. And that's one of the things that, because, obviously, one of the passions we have here is mentorship. And
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you're involved in that giving back. So can you go back a little bit in your like early career, or when you were in corporate? I'm just curious, were there mentorship programs that you were involved in the companies that you worked for?
So unfortunately, I have to say no. There weren't any kind of mentorship programs. There were projects that people kind of took on and maybe were able to get mentorship in if you were part of that project, but there was no actual official mentorship program. And it was something that was really kind of weighing on me a little bit, because here we invite individuals into our organization, and then it's like, okay, go do the job, right? There's no kind of buddy system, there's no mentoring to ensure that someone is set up for success. And so I think that's kind of what really um, piqued my curiosity and interest as to what I could do to make it different. And so I was always someone in the organization that people could come to regardless of whatever function or a team they were on, just to seek out guidance and just look, and even to be just a sounding board.
Well, and that's the one thing about mentorship. And so when I've been looking at mentorship for a long time as well because of my own journey of not really having those formal mentors in my life. And so without that, often it is a challenge. When I think about my early career, which I don't want to age myself too much, but it was a long time ago when I started out. But I've had a beautiful career, and I think back, who were my mentors? Did I have them? Even when I had a formal mentor in my first law position as an articling student, I was thinking back, we had a mentor program, but I don't really remember, that I had the freedom that I could go. I thought it was like, oh, formal, we'll meet once a week, right? Or once a month. And I didn't know what to ask and that I could ask. And so
Mhm.
one of the things about those mentor programs is if you don't help the mentors and mentees be successful, they're always going to fizzle. And
Mhm.
so, or what you're talking about sounds like what I call organic mentorship or
Right.
informal. And lately I've been looking at the concept of the everyday mentor
Mhm.
and mentor moments, which is something that Mentor Canada talks a lot about with their youth programs, in that you can create those anytime. Like, even if it's someone needs half an hour of your time just to ask you about your journey and get some advice, those
Yeah.
are mentor moments, or being an everyday mentor. So there's so many avenues for this, right?
Mhm.
I know that you were, when we first met as part of Women in Business Network, most of the women who were involved in that were women starting out their own businesses. Also, some career leadership women as well. And so you were one of the mentors, the coach mentor, really, and one
Yeah.
of the career mentors as part of that, too. So it seems like you've always had that in you. I'm curious what um, when you think about the difference between a mentor and a coach,
Mm.
because you are a coach now, and I love that everybody calls you Coach K, because Coach K is awesome, by the way. If you don't already know her, make sure you go on all her platforms. We'll get that information later, but just a beautiful, inspirational person. But so, what do you see as the main difference between a mentor and a coach?
I would say the main difference is when you're coaching someone, you're actually coaching them with an intentional goal in mind. So they've come to you because they're here in one place, but they want to get to where they desire to be. So you're coaching them with tools, strategies, modalities, and frameworks to help them to be successful with that. The other thing is, when you're coaching someone, it's about asking them super powerful questions and giving them different perspectives, because we all have the answers and know what we want, right? All we need is that safe space or container, which I love to hold confidentially with no judgment and no attachments to whatever is here. So it's really going deep and allowing someone to have a really intentional breakthrough. That to me is coaching. When I'm mentoring someone, it's really about kind of like advising and consulting as well, sharing my story, sharing my journey and insights that might help them that will be beneficial to them in their career growth. Yeah, sharing knowledge, sharing insights, being a sounding board, but really more the advising, I would say, in consulting and providing insights.
Yeah, and I love that too. And I think that is the traditional definition. And when you think about mentoring, it's the giving back piece. Everybody has something to give. They have some knowledge. That's why there's reverse mentoring as well, where someone, Jack Welch coined that in like 1999, which was really during the start of the tech boom, where executives didn't know how the heck to use
Yeah.
use any of their devices. And so the newer generations coming into the workplace were teaching them. And so there's so much beauty that can come out of it. And I think about it as the free,
Mhm.
free giving freely, because that's the biggest challenge for getting mentors, is that people don't have the time, they think. But
Right.
that's why these mentor moments, or these organizations, now there's a lot of them, where the one, and I want to hear more about the one you're going to be involved in, where you can actually just sign up and be a mentor,
Yes.
give some expertise, and someone can just book a meeting with you even once, and they can ask you questions and things like that.
Mm.
So I'd love, I mean, there's so much possibility. One of the things I do talk about is the difference between coaching, mentoring, and sponsorship. And we'll talk about sponsorship maybe a little bit later, because there is a little nuance there as well. And this
Right.
coaching world has just boomed, right? So there's a lot of confusion, because there are still coach mentors. And so or people will coach and then say, wait a minute, I have lived experience here, and I want to put my mentor hat on and actually give you advice, versus, you know, asking those, impactful questions. And then mentors too, they might have some coaching skills. So it can confuse people. Right? So I love what you said, because I often say it: a mentor talks to you, a coach talks with you, and a sponsor talks about you. And that was something that Catalyst had coined about 10 years ago, when they were doing a lot of work around sponsorship and for women, and getting them, elevated within their organizations. And now also those diverse groups who may not have had the opportunities. So equity seeking groups and things like that. You'll hear sponsorship a little bit more too. But before we get into that, little bit discussion about sponsorship, because I think it's really important to talk about how this all links to equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging as well. Um, Tell me a little bit about this recent organization that you're involved in, and this mentorship. Can you just let us know again what it's called?
Sure. So it's Accelerate Her Future. And it's a leading accelerator for Indigenous, Black, racialized women. And really, the purpose of it's virtual. So it's like a virtual career accelerator tackling the intersectional gender equality from both sides. So what they do is they partner with organizations to address any workplace barriers that are holding that certain community back. They have tailored programs as well that support the Indigenous, Black, and racialized communities. And it's a women-based program for those that are pursuing career in STEM and helping them to kind of navigate that industry. There's a lot of allyship that goes on there too. So that's a really key and important part of it. So we meet once a week over Zoom. They call them fellows. So we're the mentors. The fellows are the mentees that we're coaching. And it's an 8-week program, I believe. So quote me on that. It's either 8 to 10 weeks,
Mhm.
but it starts today.
Oh wow! So and that's what I love. It's a shorter period of time. You know your
Yeah.
commitment. You're committing, and I think that's wonderful, because these, again, it's where can I, if I do want to give back in some way, because there's so much needed out there, as you know. But volunteerism, I can go, maybe go to the food bank, donate, or spend time packaging. Like, there's things like that, but there is so much need in, especially for those starting out their careers, or in the women entrepreneur, or um, even any entrepreneurs really starting out. I'm part of Futurepreneur, which is another one, if anyone's interested in looking at that, to provide time as a mentor to startup companies. A lot of them are product based, or brick and mortar, but the service industry also, people, it's just booming right now, and more
Yeah.
women are
Yes.
starting businesses. So everybody needs something, right? So I think that's wonderful. I'd love, when you're done, I would love to hear more about your experience when you're through. And
Yeah. I'd
today
be
I,
happy to share.
yeah, and here's the thing. looking back, it's probably now you can look back and say, okay, if I think about it, who was mentor like? Who was that everyday mentor if it wasn't a formal one? Is there anyone that comes to mind for you that similar to this experience you're going through where you're going to be, supporting others? Is there some experience you had that now you can look back and say, well, really that person was a mentor to me?
Hmm. I think of someone when I worked in agency that gave me an opportunity and kind of really took me under her wings when I was starting off in my recruitment career. And her name is Kathy Campbell. And she was, and to this day, we still kind of connect. And that was like many, many years ago. Um, but someone that just genuinely cared about me as a person, not just about the work that I was doing for her on her team. And that spoke volumes to me. And even as got into my own leadership roles, I kept that same mentality as well that, everyone is a unique human being. And connecting with them on, a personal level as well is so key and so important. That's why I think I got into HR in the beginning in the first place, was for my care, my passion to serve people, just to support and ensure that everyone can be successful doing whatever they'd love to do. So I would say, yeah, I think the person that comes to mind is Kathy Campbell. But I think I didn't recognize that it was mentorship then, if I'm being honest. It's not until now stepping into, this entrepreneurship journey that I've actually recognized and sought out mentorship. And I feel like I'm leaps and bounds ahead in my personal life and my career just because of seeking out mentorship and coaching as well, because coaches need
Mm-hmm.
coaches too.
Well, absolutely. And I think I have had coaches, just so you know. And I think, and that's the thing, but not everyone can afford a coach. Not
Right.
everyone has the means. Especially when you think about starting out or where you are from a demographic perspective. And so that's where mentorship can really play a huge role.
Mm.
And now when I think about it, looking at youth in Canada right now, there are tens, like hundreds of thousands, probably even, of youth looking for mentors. And so, one company I want to shout out to is Mentor Canada. When I first started really diving deep, I'd say about five years ago, into the whole world of mentorship, uh, there weren't a lot of like national companies, and I'm in Canada for anyone watching this later, but um, there aren't a lot of national companies, and it's certainly growing now. I mean, with tech as well. And Mentor Canada now is playing this position, and they were affiliated originally with Big Brothers and Sisters. So when I think about the mentorship and those community mentor programs or youth, that one comes to mind. And now Mentor Canada is a platform where a lot of nonprofits can go and put up their programs, and they're looking for mentors. So definitely one to check out.
Mhm.
The other company that I met the founder of is Black Mentorship Inc. And
Mm.
if you ever get a chance, anybody out there, follow Evangeline Chima. She's amazing, and she saw this need, and she had started it. She had left corporate and then started this company, and obviously then everything exploded. It was like right before the pandemic, I think, and
Right.
everything exploded, everything to do with George Floyd. And now, I mean, it's a wonderful growing company that we support. And that actually the proceeds of my upcoming book called Create a Mentor Culture, a portion of the proceeds are going to be going to Black Mentorship Inc. And I think I met her through LinkedIn. I somehow came
Wow.
across her. So it's like, wow, you can learn from everybody, some way. But mentorship is now really, really growing, as is coaching. And so I think we need to understand that there's lots of ways to be able to support people. And it's that, we have the lived experience, and we're going to
Right.
continue to keep doing it. But now for me, it's more of a give back stage. But you can do that throughout, right? And pass it
Absolutely.
on. It's that ripple effect. So And I also think, Kadine, so I'm going to ask you a couple other questions, especially about the sponsorship. Uh, we can all, you and I, learn from each other too. We have a conversation, a catch up or a connection. And, in a half an hour call, all of a sudden we've learned like five things from each other or something, right? That's the thing is it's really just about creating that space. So as you can tell, I'm very passionate. And this month I'm a little tired because we've been like all in on National Mentoring Month. But I did want to ask you a little bit about the sponsorship because especially, we there's a lot more openness now to talk about, um, you know, privilege and, those lost opportunities, especially for Black, Indigenous people of color. Finally, there's this, focus and commitment. Of course, tragedy has to hit when it happens, but I mean, we still have a long way to go. But the concept of sponsorship, where you are actually elevating and really, really championing for those people in the organization. Have you ever seen that, experienced it? Are you hearing more about it? Any of your clients? I'm just really curious from your own experiences whether you're seeing this coming up more.
Definitely seeing it coming up more now, so that I'm in the coaching space versus even when I was in HR, unfortunately. But I think a lot of individuals now are, it's almost like people have taken their blinders off and are actually being more intentional in the spaces that they're in to see who could be my successor. Who can I actually level up? Who wants that? Who has the will, the skill, and the drive to kind of, I don't want to say be worthy of sponsorship, but I think leaders are actually now being more intentional to take on someone and sponsor them or become an ally for them within the organization. So I see that it's happening more and more, which is amazing to see because I honestly don't believe that it was something that was that prevalent and not in the organizations that I was a part of.
Yes. And that's where it gets sometimes a little bit, for some people they get a bit disillusioned because it's all the large companies. Like we
Mhm.
keep hearing about Fortune 500s. They're over 90% now, I believe, have, or close to 90% have mentorship programs. Whereas when I started doing my research, everywhere I looked, every mentor platform, everybody writing about mentoring was mentioning 71% of Fortune 500 companies. We finally have more data and studies out there now that have replaced it. But I'd say, well, great, they have the resources, they're able to do it. What about everybody else? What about, why
Right.
isn't every single person in your organization getting exposure to mentorship? And
Absolutely.
then what about the coaching? What about the sponsorship? Who needs it? And so, because we're honestly, when I started my research, there were about a dozen platforms in mentorship, and now there's like at least 40 or 50. And that was only in about a 5-year span. So it's been amazing. But again, a lot of the larger organizations are the ones that can afford the technology.
Right.
So we
True.
still have companies doing mentor matches and things like that. So, how would you recommend, even starting small? Do you, and sorry, this wasn't a question that I had, it just came up now, but do you have any thoughts on maybe some creative ways that for those smaller companies to bring in mentorship or coaching? Do you
Mhm.
think the individual has to be the one, or can they do something through their little bit of development funds that they give to employees?
Yeah. So great question. And I think it starts first and foremost with the organization that you're stepping into, but then also not leaving it up to them. I think you maybe heard me say the term before, CEO, which is create every opportunity. So as you're stepping into an organization, you want to be the CEO of you and create the opportunities that you want and that you seek out. So closed mouths don't get fed. If you are looking for sponsorship, if you're looking for mentorship, ask for it. But to speak to your question about, smaller organizations, even start with a buddy system. So a new organization, small organization, you have a new employee joining your team, buddy them up with someone. Buddy them up with someone that is maybe like the ideal, I don't know, I want to say poster child of, but what does success look like in that role? Who would you like them to kind of, I guess, aspire to get to that level, right? Of success. So partner them up with someone. And then as you bring other people in, partner them up with someone as well too. If someone is struggling on your team, it's a great opportunity for you to have them assigned to a mentor, someone that's doing fantastic within the organization. And then, like you've always said, it causes that ripple effect, right? Because now that you know this, you kind of want to share that knowledge and insight with someone else. But it starts with just small. Like even if you don't want to call it mentorship, but you don't have the capacity or the budget, just buddying up individuals, right? So if I'm new on the team, or even if I'm a seasoned employee, there's one person on my team or in the organization that I feel comfortable going to, that I can
Yeah.
connect with, right? And just kind of bounce something off of or gain different perspective. I think it's so important. So it doesn't have to be huge. Just start small, but just start.
I love that. I love that because one of the things I do think is that onboarding mentorship. So a lot of people call it the buddy program, but
Mm,
going a little bit more than just, hey, here's where you find, here's the coffee, here's where the kitchen is. No, just that little bit more to enrich that employee experience. So in your
yeah.
first 6 months, in addition to all the people you're going to meet, all the training, go over all these materials and who's who and meet people, there's one other person that this is your mentor for the 6 months. So at
Yeah.
any time, you can go to that person outside of your team and, just be there or have quick, once a month, a quick meeting to check in. How has your experience been? I think that would just really, really help with the experience. And I love what you said. I love your CEO, and I do want to chat a little bit about that. But one other question came up, because a lot of people that don't have those formal programs, a lot
Mhm.
of people will say, "How do I find a mentor?" And so you did kind of touch on this a little bit. Do you have any other thoughts or tips for people? This, how to approach someone, or if they see someone that they admire in the org, like how would you recommend that they start to build a relationship with that person so they can maybe have this organic mentorship with?
So conversations, reach out to, you said it, conversations with individuals that you admire, influencers, decision makers that are maybe doing the job or the role that you aspire to get into, just reaching out and asking them for conversations. And then organically, it will build over time if that's what you're looking for, and express the interest of having them as a possible mentor as well. Sometimes you just have to ask. And if they don't have the capacity, they may know someone, because like people, good people know good people. They may know someone else that might be open to or has the capacity to mentor you. But just start with having the conversation, seeking it. You have to really seek it.
I love that because it really is about the connection, right?
Mm,
It's really creating the space, but having the connection to someone, feeling like, even if, say, I'd love a coffee chat, and I would add, as the mentee or potential mentee, you
mhm.
really do want to be organized about it. So, what
Right.
I always say, for regardless of it, if it's a one on one or it's a program, what's my why? I mean, I love that, Simon Sinek, start with why, because it can apply to so much. Why? Is it because I think, wow, that person, they're doing so well in their VP role? I want the title. I would say
Hmm.
maybe not a good thing to go. Why is it? Well, I want to switch from my legal career to HR, or I want to become a coach. And
Right.
how did Kadine do that, or how did Helen do that? What credentials? What's the story? So you think about why I want to learn from this person. How do I? It helps with how you reach out, and then you start with a
Mm.
coffee chat.
Yeah.
Um, I
And I'll
find
tell
it's
you, that's
hard.
organically how it happened for me with one of my mentors. It was just, connecting with her. We met I think we were both panelists on something, and we just connected, built relationships over time. And it wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 years after connecting with her that I officially asked her, I'm looking for a mentor. Would you be open to mentoring me? And she was like, absolutely. And I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh, I
Right?
love that. I got goosebumps because that to me, I really feel that it's a way of giving back.
Mm,
And it really can make a huge difference in someone's life, to just
I
be able
agree.
to hold the space for them. I mean, there's
Mhm.
so many other things that go into it, like how to be a great mentor, all those other things too. But
Another
I want.
topic. We can park
Oh
that one and have
yeah,
another conversation.
yeah. Well, I have one more thing. I want to really give you an opportunity a little bit to talk about your journey, because I think you know the idea of being a coach. I mean, for some because there's a lot now, but
Oh yeah.
it's still growing. It's amazing, right? It's still
Yeah.
a skill set that's important. I took a brief coaching course. It was a solutions focused coaching course, but I didn't want to change my career again. I'm like, I can apply the coach principles, but I but for someone like there's two things. I want you to talk a little bit about what brought you to that coaching, because it does relate to the CEO. Like, you are in control of what you can do. So first of all, talk about why you. Oh, sorry, I'm turning this off. My phone. Can you hear me still?
I'm still hearing.
Oh, I don't know why I should have turned that off, but the AirPods. I had a bit of background noise. So, sorry, I tend to I tend to get all passionate and get off track. Uh,
Okay.
so let's start with what drew you to the coaching
Mhm.
industry. How did you finally make that decision to go get the ICF credentials, International Coaching Federation, for those that don't know?
So I'm actually CTI certified. So I'm a CTI coactive coach, not ICF certified yet,
Okay,
but they are
okay.
recognized by ICF. So
That's
what?
Coactive Training Institute or something, is it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
got it.
CTI. Yeah. So what I think I was doing coaching anyways, on the side, I would coach, I would mentor, individuals that I was working with and even like friends and family that were looking for a new job or wanted updates on their resume, interview prep. So I was doing kind of more career coaching. But what I found when I, quit corporate, that I had a coach gift me. His name is Edwin Correa, amazing man. He gifted me with some coaching. He's a coactive certified coach. And it was in those moments that I realized the intense breakthrough and the space that he held for me to kind of figure out things. And I was like, this is so powerful. Everyone should experience this. And with my coaching, when I started, I found I was doing holistic coaching anyways, like coaching the whole person. So not just coaching you on, resume or interview or your career, but it was like you as a whole, what do you want? What are you seeking for? And coming up with, strategy and tactics for you to display and articulate your unique skill sets and values and not opening Pandora's box. But I felt that sometimes until we unpack certain things, because sometimes there's certain traumas or, toxic work environments we have that we carry with us. So if we don't unpack certain things, it's really hard for us to show up as the top talent that we are. So it was through doing some of that work that I thought, you know what? I always want to have different modalities or resources in my toolkit that I can pull from so that I can support people more in depth to get more intentional breakthroughs. So that's, I think, what the why behind it. And the just to I mean, it's so powerful to see and so amazing to champion and cheerlead someone that's going through something that you can see something amazing in them, but they can't see it yet. And then to have them actually experience it, it's like, and to be a part of that, it's amazing. It's just amazing. So
Oh,
that gives me
wow.
goosebumps too, just to know that I have that little bit, and it's all the client. It's not me. It's all them, but just being there to hold space for them to see and explore the true person that's inside of them come out.
Wow.
So beautiful to witness.
That's,
So beautiful.
oh, and you just lit up there. So I'm so glad that you found this because it really is something that you are gifted with. And, you just light up, every interaction I've ever had with you. I've been in the room with you, giggling. But and this is why I love, like, a lot of the coaches that I know that have become friends are just very similar, is that they feel so blessed and lit up when they are able to, witness that transformation or change, and it's
Right.
co-creating, right? So, anyway, so beautiful. I'm so glad you found your way there, and
Thank you.
also are giving back through mentorship because it
Mhm.
is so important. And if we can sponsor someone too, where we can actually elevate them because they just have been overlooked, and they are so brilliant, but maybe they're quiet or shy and they just need someone to give that little bit of exposure for them.
Yeah.
What a difference it can make in the world. So last thing about the CEO, because I've always loved what what you've talked about. And so tell me again a little bit about, what kind of things you offer to your clients, what the CEO program is about, and and where you're going next. I'd love to know what's next for people, and then we'll talk about where they can reach you in a minute.
Sure. So CEO, creative reopportunity. It actually came about through a brainstorming strategy that I was doing with my son. My son's a creative, and he was all like becoming very observant in my journey into entrepreneurship. And he goes, "Mom, it's so impressive how you've just started to create opportunities for yourself." And I was just like, "That's it, CEO, create every opportunity." So that's kind of how that came about with the name. And then the programs that I've created around it are it's starting with an individual with figuring out what they want, because you can be, do, and have all that you want. All you need are the great tools, resources, and guidance and support in order for you to achieve that. So the program starts with that. It starts with the why. It starts with what do you want? And it's getting you crystal clear on it. So the next time you say yes to something, it's a definite yes. And if you say no to something, you feel confident in that no, and you're not suffering from that FOMO, that fear of missing out from something. And then I walk you through. So the program kind of organically morphs into based on who is there and what they want. So I definitely have a framework that I walk them through, but it's customizable, right? Because it's about what do the women that are in the program need for them to show up and thrive. So we talk about leadership skills, we talk about imposter syndrome, we talk about limiting beliefs, we talk about self doubt, we talk about healthy boundaries, effective communication, all of that, right? Because you need all of that in order to be able to thrive in certain areas in your life and your career. And it's not just about career either. It's about, your personal life, because the two are so closely intertwined. If you're not happy in your life, you're not happy in your career. If you're not happy in your career, you're not happy in life. Like they mesh, they meet
Mhm.
like that. And I just love to be able to share different tools and resources for how women can just show up differently in every space and aspect of their life.
Oh, so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And where am
so,
I
so,
going next, you asked? I didn't answer that.
oh, yes.
Ah, you know, I I started 2024 with the word being alignment, and I'm just looking to do more that aligns with me, that aligns with my soul, my heart, my spirit. And what I'd love to do is definitely more speaking opportunities to impact and inspire and motivate the masses. So I see myself doing more speaking engagements. I have a couple opportunities that I'm working on proposals for, and I'd also like to get into more corporate spaces. I've been involved and invited in some corporate spaces, and I like that because it's my sweet spot. It's what I know. But what I've been involved in is creating and facilitating workshops. I did one the other day on effective feedback, the importance of creating a culture of feedback. So I'm trying to get more involved in cultural work, organizational culture, workplace culture, and making it better, because we spend so much time of our days and our lives in our work environment. And it just takes one person to change that. And so I really want to be that person that can inject these different methods and modalities of how do you work with a difficult person? Because it's really not you, it's that person. But how do you work with them? Right? How do you get feedback? How do you give feedback authentically? So yeah, I have a couple different things that are coming up. But yeah, I really want to work, I think, in the workplace culture. I offer placement support as well, which I think is fantastic. A lot of organizations have reached out to me to provide one-on-one support with an individual with all these layoffs that are happening. Unfortunately, it's really nice to be able to journey with someone and just kind of to catch them almost, right? So you've received this news, you're going to be laid off, but at least this organization has equipped you with the resource of someone that can help you through this process. They haven't just said, okay, bye, see you later, good luck. It's unfortunate, but I love that work as well to be able to support someone and
Yeah.
give them the confidence that they need to know that they can. Okay, this is no just means next opportunity and just not now, right? So, how can we pick
Ooh.
ourselves back up and move forward?
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I mean, there is so much we could keep going and going and going. I love NO, next opportunity. So no, that's amazing. It's funny you said about the just about communication and difficult conversation. There's so much of that coming up, and I'm actually doing a workshop coming up soon on conflict management, and so much of it starts with self awareness, and that's where the
Yes.
coaching can come in.
Mhm.
And my first coach was a spiritual coach, but I've also had business coaches and other coaches since. And I think that the thing that we really need to, whether you get it through mentorship or sponsorship or coaching, having someone there that can kind of hold the space to help you see yourself.
Right.
And also,
Yeah.
we all like cheerleaders, right? People call some mentors cheerleaders. Maybe that's not the appropriate word, but we like the champions and all of those things too. So it's really just throughout your career finding that person. You can't do it alone, and that was part of what I think is really in where we started here is like my lived experience was not really having someone to go to. My parents were not born in Canada. They were both born in Poland, eventually went to England and then immigrated to Canada. And, their lives were not easy growing up. And, they finished high school. Not even sure if my dad did. It's a long story, but I didn't learn a lot about him and his. He kept a lot to himself, and I often wonder like why he was the way he was. But my mom's life was very difficult. She was a refugee, but they still. So I couldn't go. Hey, what do I do about college, university? Well, we didn't even have the money, so But
Right.
so sometimes it's a parent, but sometimes it's the teacher that just
Right.
says, "Hey, you are really intelligent. Don't give up on
Yeah.
school. Keep going. Whatever it is. You're an amazing athlete or you're a gifted musician. There's so
Mhm.
much." And to realize that we do have it within. So
Yeah.
create, you know, every
Surround
opportunity.
yourself with people that wanna see you win and succeed is what I would say too. If you don't have an actual
Hmm.
mentor to just surround yourself with a community of people that wanna
Yeah.
see you win and succeed.
Yeah. And the
Community is
peers.
important, so important.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you some fun questions. But before we do that, where can people, if they want to reach out to you, where is the best place to find you?
Best place would be on LinkedIn, Kadine Cooper. You can find me there. I play in Instagram a little bit as career coach underscore K, but I would say LinkedIn is kind of my sweet spot where I spend
Oh,
most.
great. Wonderful, wonderful. So, do you have a book you would like a favorite go to book that you would recommend to people that, may have even changed your life?
I would say it changed my life, but definitely a good resource, and it's Reinvention Roadmap. That's a really
Mm.
good one. And for personal development, I would say Untamed by Glendon Doyle. Believe it or not, there's some really good gems in there. It's one of my favorites. And The Mountain Is You is also a good one as well.
Ooh, I've heard that. It's so
Yeah,
funny because I love to read and I just can't keep up because there's
same.
just so many incredible books. I'm thinking about a book club. So that might be in it either with the mentor circle or instead of it. Sometimes,
Yeah,
because I used to do these monthly, but I found, I started them in the pandemic, and now I think people are so pulled in so many directions. It's really
right.
just
There's so
trying to
much
find, like,
noise.
yes. And so find your space and don't
Mhm.
be hesitant to reach out. But those sound like wonderful books. So I think we'll wrap up there. And I just wanted to again say thank you for being here with me. Thank you for all that you do. You're really making an incredible impact in others' lives. And I just can't wait to see what you do next. So thanks again for being here today. And
Yeah,
we will see you at the next Mentor Circle.
absolutely.